Hey, what's up? I'm X, and welcome back to the 4 Idiots series, the series where I show you how to do bosses very quickly in RuneScape. Please like and comment and subscribe so that these videos get recommended when you search for these guides. Today we're tackling Yama, so let's get right into it. A little disclaimer is that this is the day of release and there is a lot more information to come out, I'm sure, so check that in the pinned comments below. The requirements for Yama are just that you have the quest A Kingdom Divided completed. Aside from that, I'd recommend that you have access to fairy rings at the minimum, and 80s in your combat stats. This is a duo boss, so I'd heavily recommend that you have a friend with you. To get to Yama, you can either use a Chasm teleport scroll or the DJR fairy ring, or you can run from several of the teleports around Shazian. Once you're here, head down the rope, and if you have 83 agility, climb down the spike chain right next to you to get there immediately. Otherwise, head down the northern elevator, and if you have 73 agility, cross the gap, and if you don't have 73, then simply walk around like this and get here the long way. For gear, I'd heavily recommend bringing a strong magic setup with a staff that can auto-cast Arceus spells. The Dark Demon Bane spell in particular, which requires 82 magic. This will be your primary offense in tandem with the Mark of Darkness spell that you get at 59 magic. Bring all of your best magic gear, and you'll want a small melee switch with a maximization in melee strength offense, as you will always hit your max hit for what we'll be using it for. For the rest of your inventory, you should bring a super combat, some kind of anti-poison, a couple restores, and a teleport out. The rest you'll want food and a Book of the Dead if you're bringing thralls. If it's your first time here, you'll have to talk to the voice of Yama to enter. Once inside, if you'd like a little bit of flavor, you can talk to Yama and figure out why he's there. Before starting the fight, make sure that your duo partner is in the room with you. This is a relatively simple boss with incredibly punishing mechanics. When you first press challenge on Yama, he will zip to the center of the room and become attackable. Stay out of his melee range, as his melees are incredibly strong and accurate. You can start the fight either praying ranged or magic. Once Yama spawns, he will make the glyphs on the ground begin to glow. The most northernmost glyphs that are closest to his throne are going to be indicative of what his first attack will be. The first two glyphs can either be red or this sort of dark purple here. I like to think of his red as his mage attacks and his purple as his ranged attacks, similar to his attacks on his hands where he either has a fire or a smoke trail when he snaps. Whichever glyphs are his most northern, you will end up praying the opposite. So for example, if they were red glyphs, you would start by praying ranged while auto-attacking him. Every once in a while in the chat it will say that Yama is firing a projectile at you. In this case, Yama conjures a fire-based attack at you. When you see this, you or your partner wants to stand in the direct center of the correct glyph, in this case the red, until the attack passes. Please note that standing in the center of the glyph will use up the glyph, so don't use it too early as it may remove your protection from that phase. If both you and your partner stand on separate glyphs of the same color, it will usually pick one player's glyph to disappear, so quickly move off the one that did not go away, as to not use it up. Little editor's note, but only one player needs to be standing on a glyph for the entire team. If you both do, that's fine, but just make sure you move off the glyph to not use it up quickly. Once the correct attack has been completed, pray the opposite of what you were and stand next to the opposite color. You will repeat this process in both phases until he reaches 66.6% of his HP and 33.3% of his HP. During this auto-attacking segment, he will also occasionally do two attacks, one where horizontal fire will cross the arena and if you are hit by it will sear you in place unless you have protection from red, or simply move out of the way. The other which will produce this large purplish wave which you can run through when it's 1 to 2 tiles away from you like this, or utilize purple protection at the right time. He will also occasionally spawn these voids which have two separate bars, the top being its HP and the bottom being its charged meter. If the voids charge all the way up, you will take some damage and Yama will heal, so try to damage them immediately as you see them. At 66.6%, unless he's in the middle of an attack, he will teleport you and your partner to the east and west of him to fight the Judge of Yama. There will be several stones in front of you that you need to click to get all the way to the Judge of Yama to fight him. Jumping across these stones has no delay, so click quickly and avoid the fireballs. Once you make it to the Judge of Yama's platform, the Judge will begin to throw AoE skulls at you, so just make sure you're not standing wherever they land and you won't take damage. You will need to hit him with the combat style that he isn't praying against. He will always be vulnerable to mage first, so you can mage him a little bit before you get off of the platforms, for a little bit of efficiency. Once there, simply swap between maged and melee attacks to kill him. Your damage will sync up with your partner's on the other side. If you don't have a particularly strong melee weapon, you can use a fast attacking melee weapon and simply mage him the entire time. Once the Judge dies, you'll be teleported back to the center of the room just like the beginning. At this point, again look to the two most northern glyphs and pray the opposite. The only difference between this phase and the previous phase is that his attacks are significantly stronger if you are wrong, one being a total one-shot. Simply coordinate with your partner like you did in the first phase and you'll be fine. At 33.3%, you'll be sent back to to fight the judge again the exact same way. After that judge is dead, you'll be sent back to the center of the room again. This is the final phase and the enraged phase for this fight. Yama will no longer be using glyphs and will change his attack patterns quite a bit from what you're used to. Yama will alternate between ranged and magic attacks, and with a new attack which drops 3 flaming rocks on top of your character. Your character will always be the centermost rock. When the rock lands, it will explode into an hourglass configuration. To avoid this attack, you can simply move away from it, or you can move into the gaps of the hourglass. So for this first configuration, you will simply have to step 1 to the left or 1 to the right. The second configuration will be the exact same thing, but in more of a diagonal line. The third will be much like the first. This takes a little bit of getting used to, but the damage is not severe enough to one-shot you. Keep an eye on Yama, as he will do this alternating auto attack between the falling rock attack. If you take damage from an auto attack, simply don't change your prayer and get back into the sequence. He will go mage range, so if you're already praying mage, don't change it if you mess up. Also during this phase, you will be experiencing the large purple flame waves that you're used to, but they will always come out 2 at once, so try to hug the walls to minimize taking 2 at once. Run through when it's about 1 to 2 tiles ahead of you and you should make it through this attack, though it's a little overwhelming. The voids that can heal him will also spawn during this phase, but at half the HP that they would normally. It's relatively hard to die in this phase so long as you're eating when you are damaged. There were many times that I took a lot of damage and panicked and got myself damaged more, but so long as I kept eating, I basically could not die. You are more likely to have to teleport out due to lack of supplies than getting KO'd. Once he reaches 0 HP, he will go back to his throne and drop his reward in front of you. For players looking to make this fight a little bit more efficient, I would recommend bringing in an accursed scepter spec in the beginning of the fight to reduce his magic defense, making him a little bit easier to hit. You can also utilize a pair of Dragon Claws or a Void Waker or something like that in your melee setup to do a little bit of extra damage when you have it. You are also able to grab Death Charge boosts off of the Voids and the Judge of Yama, so you can spec often. One of the most helpful things that I can say is that if you are struggling and panicking, please take a second and try to get back into sequence. Also, it's very easy to forget about the re-upping of your Mark of Darkness spell, but it's incredibly important for your DPS, so please check on it every once in a while, or at least every phase. That's all I've got for you today, and I hope that this was helpful, and if it was, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, goodbye.